like I want to hear somebody young come up through the ranks.
There it is.
And give me some dope stuff. That's why every week I'm listening to something.
Right. If new doesn't mean better. LeBron shoes versus Jordan shoes. The technology on LeBron shoes are better. Everything is advanced. But people still run back to Jordans. They're still the number one seller. So can this concept be applied to hip hop? Because he says quality has always been the number one thing. It's about quality. So with the Jordan shoes, they're older, still got good quality. It's higher quality. So even with the music, some of the older music, it just has better quality. This is this guy's argument I saw in the video. It's an interesting comparison because LeBron has all the bells and whistles, but people say the quality of the Jordans are just better.
I mean, when you remove the technology, that's the key word in that. You're left with the shell of a shoe.
Right.
The Jordan brand is just that shoe. Like everybody had to have Jordans when, you know what I'm saying, when you was a kid, and it just continued to transcend and never stopped. Even though the soles may not be as comfortable as LeBron shoe, or it looks nice, a really nice looking shoe, up to a certain number. So we ain't about to just say all Jordans are really nice looking shoes.
That's true. But the way he's trying to apply it is he's saying it's always been about quality. So the older music, it might be older, but the quality is higher. He said that doesn't mean that just because you're older and you're hating on the newer quality of the new technology.
So I was going to tie that in too, because as far as new technology with new music, as we know, there's a lot of people that can produce and do everything they can right in the comfort of their own home, and it will still sound better than a lot of mixes that were made back in the day. But we're only talking about the technology that goes into that music. We're not talking about the feeling that music gives you. So you can do, I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody new, because there are new artists that still give me that same feeling.
Agreed.
But when you remove the technology from it, if we're talking about music nowadays, how many people will be able to do it if we're talking about technology? Because they would have to learn how to use an MP. They would have to actually learn how to play instruments, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Understand some theory.
Yeah.
Actually write their own stuff, because
shorter sample
and
time.
be able to perform it.
And be able to perform it. So when you remove a lot of those things, it puts it in.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good comparison.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, no, what you're saying, I agree with what you're saying. But what I'm talking about the original thing where you can't compare shoes and technology to like a subjective art. And it doesn't like, because he's talking about, if you say that LeBron shoes are better for your feet because they're more advanced and you're not going to hurt yourself, all right, that's not a good comparison to a subjective art. If you're saying Jordans as far as like the subjectivity of the style,
still outselling.
Okay, that's one thing. But when you get into like, I don't know, I guess I just don't see it. I would say because yes, there's older material that's really good that's held up through time.
Yes.
There's newer material that's coming out every day that's also really good. But I don't think one necessarily means the other either way. So I don't necessarily think he's wrong. I just don't think that it's a valid type of argument.
What do you say to the idea of quality always being the number one goal, and that he's actually his main point was, we're not hating when we say we don't like something new because they have all the new technology and things have changed. And you hear people complain about that. At the end of the day, it's about the quality. Sometimes people don't look at it that way. I've always been a quality person. There are some people that don't care about quality.
No,
quality
for sure.
can be subjective.
Quality is subjective.
It is.
And we also have to think about what lens are we looking at this through? Are we looking at this from I'm not trying to bring capitalism up, right? But
yes,
but if we're talking about it from that subject from that object, I guess, of saying what are we basing what we consider quality off of it? What is our definition of quality? Is it, well, this is quality because a lot of people like it, or is this quality because of these 7 things that I have determined what quality is in my head? Which we all have. We all have this thing in our head that kind of dictates what we think something is quality as, but it changes depending on who the person is.
It does.
So I don't know. I feel like it's
the Jordan brand is still the number one selling shoe,
and that's fine.
And when they talk about, kind of threw me off when he talked about the technology, because the Jordans that were built back then, I mean, they
made your feet bleed.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So let's not,
But it goes into what Lone talks about the other things that are outside of the actual product that influence it. Terry talked about the brand. The brand is unbeatable.
But also that's branding.
Yes.
You know,
So
part of it,
cultural impact.
and plus
There we go.
And plus, you know, this is the thing. You know, there are people our age who are always going to say, well, this is better. I don't know. You know, I still think Jordans, you know, they're because it was the first of its kind, really, to where it was and it's still an aspirational situation to where if you got a little money and you think you're doing it a little bit, you want to get yourself a pair or several pair of Jordans. And that's cool. And for whatever, as far as basketball shoes are concerned, like shout out to my man DJ 2D. He had on a pair of LeBrons one time. I don't know what number they were, but these were the most beautiful, most comfortable looking shoes I had ever seen in my life. But of course, you know, like it doesn't matter to people who don't feel like, okay, if I wear these shoes, or is anybody gonna ask me about them?
Yeah,
you know, it's sort of like, you know, I take into the realm of somebody who runs a bar. One of the things that is aspirational to this day, even though I don't think the quality is there all the time, is Hennessy. Hennessy. That is like people's when they first get out in the world, they think they're doing it a little bit. Yeah, let me get some shots of Hennessy. Let me get a Hen and Coke. Now, Douce is actually better, and it's around the same price point.
Subjective,
but it's only been around for you know. There's not the same look. There's not the same look as far as the aspirational aspect of people having that poured as opposed to Hennessy. So, like Jordan as a brand has been around for so long, it is so well established that it doesn't matter. Say they put out some Jordans that are retros or whatever, and they skip on the quality. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
David Peck corrected me too here. He said, I saw the clip. He said, because I know the technology was in there, but he said it makes a little more sense, and I hate they deleted it. He said he was talking more about the cultural impact as well. That's also where I'm talking about. The cultural impact, it was the first of its kind, and you know, just like and you could apply it to anybody's shoes. The Kyrie, but you know what? I was talking. Thank you.
I was talking to somebody who's got like a 9-year-old.
Thank you.
And they were all they wanted. You know, this was a few years ago. They wanted the Kyries. They didn't care nothing about Jordans. You know, it doesn't matter.
Now, until.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not talking about a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and then I had another friend who what they wanted for Christmas was the KD slides. That was bigger to them than any pair of Jordans you could have got them.
Yeah.
You know, and so once again, we're talking about things that are subjective.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we speak from a place of what we remember, what we have nostalgia about, and what we think are quality. Like we might get a whole another bunch of answers. We talk to some kids 12 to 17. Maybe not. But a lot of times we get into our new old heads bag.
Yeah.
And we just automatically, since we've been around the block, since we've seen so much more, we just automatically think that we're right. And I get it, because to me, yeah, I am right.
I ain't gonna hold you.
They want them J's, though.
I ain't gonna hold you, Mike.
No, they still want them now. But at the same time, a lot of that market is people who are our age who can afford to buy 3 and 4 pairs at the same time.
I ain't gonna hold you, Mike. I don't think Mike the GOAT from a basketball standpoint, but it is no debate from a shoe and apparel standpoint. It's not even close.
Who still eat at McDonald's, knowing they shouldn't be eating at McDonald's.
But if we keep
because of Mike.
But if we keep this comparison going, you know, you're talking about cultural impact versus the quality of what that actually is. Are we saying that the new Michael Jordans or the old Michael Jordans are better quality shoes? From you know what I mean? So if we translate that
design wise,
yes,
not from technology.
Exactly.
Yes.
So to me, that comparison would be similar to like, okay, is how Rakim wrote his rhymes in comparison to how Lil Uzi Vert writes his rhymes. You know what I mean? That's to me, that's that kind of comparison. But my argument to that would be, well, there are still newer rappers out here that rap like Rakim.
Or better.
You know what I mean? And there were probably rappers that rapped as bad. Let me not say that Lil Uzi Vert is bad. Let me just, I don't know, Kreayshawn, whatever. Let's just say like somebody that doesn't take time to really perfect their pocket and stance of rapping, whatever that is. We had those back then too.
Yeah,
we did. Just like with Eminem, the whole Eminem debate. There is no way you can say he can't rap. The way he puts words and things together.
From a technical standpoint.
He's very freaking good.
Yeah.
But do you want to hear somebody that technical all the time?
It depends on the person, right? Some people really think that is what makes it. That's the thing.
Oh, we see them.
Which goes into our subjective conversation we're having, right? Some people really think that they think that is really, really good. You know what I mean? No, I mean, they do.
Right.
But they do. People really are, just like 𝐀𝐁9, just like the whole, what is 𝐀𝐁9's label? Strange
music.
Strange music, yeah.
All those guys rap like that, and I can't get into it. I mean, they're super technical. They rap really fast. Immortal Technique is very much like that too. Yes, Nicole. But it's like they're talented. They're good, but like, they appeal to a specific type of demographic that really care about the technical aspect more about anything else.
Because I would rather listen to Big Crit or
I would too,
or UGK for that matter. A-Ball MJG even.
Yeah.
But you know what we do a lot of times, especially when we're having certain arguments like this, when we get into music, we compare somebody who was the best from an era that we thought was fantastic. Like we'll say Rakim is so much better than Young Drug Addict. You know, like I had to make somebody up. I didn't want to insult anybody.
Young Drug Addict,
like
you know, but like because we didn't think Young Fentanyl is a good rapper, and there's no way you could say he's better than Rakim. That's what we do, but we don't like to line up somebody from the era we came from against somebody who's just proficient lyrically or even from a production standpoint as who's out.
I think
now.
we do.
We do.
Personally, we do.
When people have all these arguments online, they always want to hold up like, there's no way you could put a Tribe Called Quest up against young school shooters. Like, I don't know why you would put somebody's at the top of their game from our era as somebody who you know is just hacks. You don't want to put them against a group who's really doing it right now.
I think a lot of it is just like, it's like this interesting dichotomy of people that don't know any better. And it's like this, I think it's like a combination effect. It's like we hear something like that and we know that it's so ridiculous that we feel like we have to respond to it, even though we should just let it go.
Right.
And then it becomes a thing when it really, we should not, nobody cares about the young school shooters. They suck. You know, like we don't have to validate Tribe. They're solidified.
They are.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of time it's like this weird back and forth where it's like, no, you should know better. And it's just like, man.
Or it kind of comes from a place of we were fortunate to grow up in an era that we did.
Yeah.
So we like to put it on such a high pinnacle and say such and such they can't understand it. It's kind of like on White Men Can't Jump when he told, oh boy, you don't understand, Jimmy. You just hear Jim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Said I like to listen to it, man. No. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
Yeah, you can't hear Jimmy.
It's almost like we're telling people that may even be interested in listening to the older artists, you can't really feel them like that. You just hear it. You don't feel it though.
But isn't there like kind of a truth to that though? Because like, especially when we talk about like the nostalgia aspect of music, everything is really tied to where we were when we listened to it.
It is.
A younger artist can't go back and be where we were when we witnessed that and how the culture of the life was when we heard that stuff. It's just like if I go back and listen to stuff that I missed,
right?
I missed that wave.
But I can still feel a certain energy from that music. Older music that I wasn't around to experience in real time and still be like, this right here is ill.
I do it all the time.
Like Stevie Wonder is like my favorite R&B artist. Most of his albums that came out that are my favorite, I wasn't alive, but I can still go back and listen to them and feel a certain type of way. Same way with like Parliament Funkadelic. I wasn't around for that, but I can feel it. I might not feel it the same way they did because they might have been there getting high listening to it. So I'm not going to feel it like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I still...
The quality transcends.
Yeah.
Like certain records and certain artists, especially with Stevie, like the quality transcends. It does. Like I can appreciate the quality of records that were made before I was born.
But
because the quality transcends to me.
The reason why you feel that way is because of who you are and the people around you and your appreciation for a certain type of music and how you grew up. And all the, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that both of you guys had an appreciation of Stevie Wonder and Parliament Funkadelic even before you listened to them, based upon people in your life,
our surroundings.
That's what I mean, right? Or am I wrong? I mean,
sometimes hip hop led me to listen to these people. You know what I'm saying? So that influence from hip hop made me reach out and be like, oh, I kind of I get
so
it.
you got there. You got there naturally, I guess is kind of what I'm getting at.
Right,
you know, like it wasn't like somebody saying Parliament's the best group in the history of the world.
Nah, it wasn't that. Yeah.
And you need to listen to it. And if you don't agree that this hip hop stuff is trash, you know what I mean? Like,
But to your point, though, as it relates to your surroundings, I also know that I was around certain music that I heard as a child that influenced my ears. I heard my mama playing Al Green and stuff like that. So when I hear those records now, it's twofold. The music is dope, but it also has the nostalgia point that takes me back to a certain area. But I can separate the two.
Memory.
Yeah, I can separate the two, though, because the records are fire.
no, for sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like there might just be a little interesting thing that happens if we're like, I feel like just the same argument you were talking about, like we came up in the 90s and, you know, we know what it's good, but, you know, we may think that our era of the 90s is better than the 80s, but the people that grew up in the 80s are going to say the same thing. You know, like I feel like there is, you know, like,
but like with me, like I want to hear somebody young come up through the ranks
There it is.
and give me some dope stuff. That's why every week I'm listening to something,
right?
trying to be like, oh damn, this dude got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm always looking for that spark. It's not like
me too.
I'm just stuck in that what we had is so much better, because there's stuff that I've heard since I've been grown that's better than a lot of stuff I was vibing to when I was a kid.
I get excited when I hear a new artist is dope, or somebody puts me on to somebody. I get
Of course,
excited.
we all do.
Yeah.
But you know, like when I watched, I'm not sure if you guys ever saw the documentary, The Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a part where like they had Grandmaster, Melly Mel, and Scorpio, and like Curtis Blow, and like they were like, man, you know, these new dudes don't know how to perform. You know, they'd never seen 100 people or 1,000 people. And it's like, wow, that's something just like I talked about how we need to start booing people off a stage.
Yep.
That's kind of the conversation they were having in 1995. That's when the movie came out. They were probably,
Even in the 80s too. 'Cause Houdini had used to say the same thing about artists.
yeah, so they probably produced it in 93, 94, but they're talking literally about the artists that we revere.
Yes.
You know, so
Good point.
you know, it's just everything is cyclical. You know, music marks time, and I think these are great conversations to have. But we also, you know, we can't be those cultural gatekeepers.
Right.
We just have to have the conversations and realize that, you know, things change. But you know, we can recognize quality, but quality is subjective.
For sure.
It definitely is.
And to Nicole's point, that's actually literally what I was going to say. It was that, you know, like to Terry's point, what you guys were saying, what I look for when I listen to newer artists specifically, I'm not looking for somebody to recreate Outkast. I'm not looking for somebody to recreate. I'm looking for the feeling the first time I heard M Rainbows by Radiohead, or the first time that I heard Little Dragon. You know, like it's just it was something that was different. It was transcendental. It was like something that was new, is unique. I don't need a new version of Rakim.
Right.
That almost turns me off.
No, for sure.
Agreed.
So
I like that point. I like that point. That's a good point, because when it's new and it's fresh, that's like a double whammy for me. It's new and it's fresh and it's different. I haven't heard anything like it. That's like finding Waldo.
And I don't know if you do this, but as an artist, what I tell people is like the stuff that impresses me is when I hear somebody do something and I think to myself, man, I wish I would have thought of that first, or I wish I would have done that first.
There it is.
And that for me, that's what it is. And if I hear something like that, I'm like, ooh, okay.
Producers, like just from production standpoint, when I see producers or I see videos of someone editing or chopping, or, you know, Gene Brown beat battle or whatever it is, when you see people up there performing, and it makes me start to itch from a standpoint of, I don't even know how he put that together. I got to get in the lab. Those moments are the moments that we live for, because I'm actually inspired. I'm enjoying what I'm hearing, and it makes me want to go back and sit down and plug in.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a dope feeling to me. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to be inspired by people.